hello and welcome. Welcome to this second video of the week, kind of. Last week's video was Sunday, which is almost this week, isn't it? This is something a bit different. Not talking too much about rallying this time. Today I want to talk to you about Toyota's new performance car, the GR Yaris, which I was fortunate enough to have a brief drive in today. I had a little test drive in one. This isn't one of those should I buy videos or I'm going to buy videos. It's a car I am interested in, so I was keen to have a test drive in it. If you're expecting me to do a influencer style look at my new car unveil, I'm sorry to disappoint you, that's not happening today. But I did test drive one because it's a very interesting car and I was interested to try it out. So we'll have a little bit of a look. I didn't unfortunately get to do any filming while I was driving the car, but I did do a little bit of a walk around video, which you will see in a second. And I've also just wanted to just share some thoughts on what I felt. It's obviously a car that's getting a lot of positive reviews and a lot of chatter about it, obviously because of its unique kind of positioning in the market and its rally heritage, which we'll come to. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting car, so I hope you enjoy, and let's get to it.
So I've just stopped quickly. I just wanted to do a little 30-second, 1-minute walk around of the car. This particular example is red, which for me I'm not so sure about. I think the white and the black are the colours to have on this car. Black surprised me a lot. I think it looks really good. It doesn't look as wide as you would think in a way. You can obviously see the arch extensions. The rear does look wider for me, but you can see the way the front arches come into the bumper with that big square intake for the cooling pack. A couple of little details. I'm going to stop saying because it's raining. These are brake cooling. Here you've got kind of textured fake carbon plastic, which you can just about see there. These slots here are fake. They're blocked off. They don't do anything. But overall, I think the front end does look pretty good. I think the square kind of look of that front grille seems a bit at odds at the kind of general lines of the car, but for me it does work. This is a circuit pack car, so just coming in quickly, you've got red calipers. I think two-piece discs are standard on all of them, and this has got the forged wheels that are part of the circuit pack. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres. They do look better than the standard wheels, I believe, from what I've seen in photos. But overall I think it's a good looking car. I think for me, I think once it's lowered a little bit, which obviously the aftermarket tuners will really get into, I think that will improve things quite a lot. And just coming around to the back, I think the rear arches look good. I think they look much wider. You get that accentuated bit from the base of the lights where the arches come out. But I think what this car really is crying out for is a bigger rear wing, in my view. That won't be to everyone's taste, but I think it would add something to the car for me, especially once it's sitting a bit lower. Just finally, before I get back on the road, I wanted to talk about the roof. This, as you can see, is a kind of carbon fibre wrap, fake carbon fibre wrap I should say. The reason for that is that although the roof is composite, it's not done in the traditional sense, it's recycled. So you wouldn't get that nice weave effect, so they've just put a wrap over it, just to make it look a bit neater. But overall I think it's a good looking car. For me, a bit lower would help it, a bit more of a spoiler would help it, and white or black for sure. But I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of the outside. And while we're pulled over, I'm also going to have a quick interior look around. It's quite an interesting car this. Just looking inside, the dials are extremely basic, very simple. I think these are much more simple than the regular Yaris dials. Seats are of course bespoke, GR logos, quite supportive in my view, mounted far too high, but there we are, I am quite tall. Gear shift is very light, positive, very short lever, red stitching everywhere, suede on the doors. I think they've done a good job with the interior. It's difficult to overcome the kind of basic plastics for me, but that's the base car, isn't it? You know, you can't, that's just kind of Japanese kind of materials. So yeah, overall I think it's good. You've got a nice sort of delicate steering wheel, pretty thin rim. So overall I like the inside. The big thing for me is the seats and the seating position, but we'll come to that.
What is the GR Yaris then? Toyota are marketing it as a homologation special rally car for the road. Now, I can see why they're doing that. As a successful World Rally team, it makes a lot of sense, and there has been some carryover between what was going to be the 2021 Toyota Yaris World Rally car, which has unfortunately now been cancelled, and the GR Yaris. The main thing is, if you look at the shape of the car, if you put the GR Yaris next to a regular Toyota Yaris, they are a very, very different proposition. The regular Yaris is 5 doors and looks a bit gawky, to be honest, whereas the GR Yaris, they've removed 95mm from the roofline at the rear of the car, which has given it a much more sloping profile. Aerodynamically, that's very good for the rally car because it allows them to channel more. It allows them to channel air more efficiently onto the rear wing. So that's the main benefit. Otherwise, the crossover isn't too great. There has been some work under the bonnet with the 1.6 litre 3-cylinder engine to allow them to use that in their Rally 2 car, which is the tier below the main World Rally Championship. But lots of people are getting very excited about this homologation special rally car for the road business, but that link is perhaps a little bit more strenuous than is being made out. However, that does not detract from the fact that the GR Yaris is a very special car. If you look at its construction, it is unique. It is unlike any other Yaris. Obviously, you have the roofline that I mentioned, but you also have a very bespoke platform. So the front of the car is Yaris. The rear platform, the suspension, is Corolla, to allow it to be independent and for them to use four-wheel drive, which again is unique in that size of car. So from that perspective, it is very interesting. The chassis itself on the road feels very neutral for the most part. You know, you don't tend to get the sense of the car pushing from the rear, even in the track mode where you have 80% of drive to the rear axle. It's not quite the same as a Focus RS when I drove that on the launch, and you could really feel that car pushing from the rear axle, and that was probably because they used to overspeed the rear outside wheel of that car to make it kind of push round from the rear end. The GR Yaris doesn't feel quite like that on the road. On track maybe, but not on the road. And what that leaves you with is quite a neutral feeling car. It feels very stable, very planted and extremely capable, but it is neutral, and it is fairly easy to get it to push into a little bit of understeer, particularly in the wet, and particularly under a bit of power. So I did find that on a couple of occasions it was just starting to push into a little bit of understeer. As you got used to the car, you might be able to work on that balance a little bit, but unfortunately I didn't have too much time with the car to play, and the conditions weren't really ideal. Generally speaking though, I think the way the car drives is very good. The touch points are very good, steering's nice, nicely weighted, reasonable amounts of feedback for a modern car. Gear shift's very nice, very short lever with a very short throw, so that all feels very, very positive. The ride is pretty good. Car we're sitting in now, Renault Sport Clio, is very, very stiff, and the Yaris does have more compliance than a lot of other hot hatches. More compliance certainly than something from the likes of Renault, which would be very stiff and very focused. So it is quite compliant. There is a little bit of an edge to the ride, but I think for the most part it was pretty good. I was pretty impressed, and as you build up the speed, that tends to improve. So from a driving point of view, very good. The engine, being such a small capacity 3-cylinder, it does feel very boosty, which is good. I like that about it. It's still responsive, not very much lag, which is very impressive considering its small size, but you definitely feel that it's turbocharged. The only disappointment with the engine for me really was just that it just didn't have too much personality for me. At low speed, at low revs, you've got a little bit of hissing and whooshing from the turbocharger, but as you moved up the revs and really started to use the engine, it started to push a lot of synthesized sound through the speakers, and that for me took the edge off it a little bit. It was a bit of a shame. It's a car I think that would benefit a lot from some tweaking to the exhaust system to just give it a little bit more personality. But the engine overall is very strong, and I think the chassis is very strong, brakes are very strong, ride's good, brakes are good. pedals very firm, but it is as you would expect. I think the thing perhaps is that, as with a lot of modern performance cars, it's just a little bit too capable, which sounds ridiculous, but I think there is something to be said for a car that's a little bit looser and a little bit slower, because you can just exploit it a little bit more on the road. But overall, a very impressive car to drive. The big disappointment for me, and I think I have to mention this because it's something that I haven't seen mentioned particularly, is the seating position. So at 6'3", I'm quite tall, and I understand that I'm quite tall. That being said, I'm not abnormally tall. I'm not a giant, and I found that I had my head butt up against the roof for the entire time that I was driving the car. I like my seat generally as it is in this car. I like it pretty upright, and in the Yaris that was just not possible. I had to have the seat tilted back, and I felt like I was laying back a bit, but still my head was against the roof, and I was looking really at the sun visor up here. I was looking at this, not out of the window. So that was a real point of contention for me, and I would urge you, if you're considering buying one, to make sure you test drive one, or at least sit in one before you place an order, because if you're over 6 foot, you could, depending on your body shape, you could run into problems. It's a shame, otherwise the seats are good, the seats are very supportive, but they just need to be dropped by about 50 millimeters. So that was a real shame, but overall I think it was a positive experience. I'm glad I got to drive one, and it's a very interesting car and a very unique car. So yeah, it was certainly an experience. It's not perfect. I would read the other reviews that are going around with caution, because I think people are getting very excited about it because of its uniqueness and because of its capabilities, but it's certainly not perfect. Incidentally, after I'd driven it, I went to a supermarket and I happened across one of the orange Performance Edition Ford Fiesta STs, and I couldn't help but think that that's actually a slightly better looking car. And having driven a couple of Mark 8 Fiestas, I think the cost premium of the Yaris over one of those could make it quite difficult to justify, unless you really, really want the four-wheel drive and you really want that rally marketing homologation thing. So it's a good car. It's up against some tough competition. There's a lot to like about it. If you drive one, I think I certainly wouldn't blame anyone for buying one, but if you're a taller lady or gentleman, I would certainly recommend that you sit in it first. Anyway, I think that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up there. Those are my thoughts on the GR Yaris. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Please, as always, like and subscribe and follow, and I will catch you again very soon.